Come and join me and watch me make this shell flower sun catcher. I got these beautiful gemstones from Charmers Gems. You'll find them online, and look at this beautiful carved flower shell. It's got a hole in the middle, which means you can connect it by that means and use wire as well. And I've also got these smaller shells. They're only drilled on one end. I've got this stunning flower agate teardrop bead. So I'm going to use all these bits together. And these hematite or hematite, I don't know how you pronounce it yourselves, they are gold hematite stars. So I'm starting off with some 0.4 copper, it's a silver-plated copper wire. And I'm using an arm's length, and I've pushed it through the hole, but the first thing I'm going to do is create a link, and I'm wrapping it round 3 times on my pliers to create a more solid link because the wire is so thin, and then wire wrapping it underneath that link with the other wire. So it's a doubled up piece of wire basically. And that creates a stronger loop, because if I just put one link of 0.4, it's really too thin, and over time that could wear down and break. So that gives me a nice sort of more solid linking system at one end of the flower. So then I'm just placing that in the gap of the flower petals, which gives me some stability. And I'm going to thread these beautiful little gold hematite stars on. Now I can either put them one after the other together, or I could break them down with some other little gemstones. Actually, maybe I will use the white topaz, because the white topaz will add extra sparkle. So you see I've alternated with the gold star and the white topaz just to add a bit of extra sparkle and make the stars stand out. And then I go back through the hole to the back of the piece and then bring it around sort of at a quarter area there, so that I don't want to cover the whole shell because it's so opalescent and it has this lovely luster. So I'm just going to do sort of north, south, east and west with the stars, and you see, just link them on the top. So now I'm coming up to the last bit of wiring, and I'm going to make a link again, just as I did at the beginning, on the opposite side. So same thing, wrap the wire around 3 times and curl it back to the end of the shell. And there you've got now another linking system, the opposite side of the shell. Wire wrap it just underneath those circles or circular links, which will fix them in place just there. And then you can still, you have the length of, the excess wire to feed and thread the remaining beads to finish off the beading bit of the flower. So see, that will just sit. There's a little, actually these flower petals are beautifully made because they've got a little nick or a groove at the end of each petal, which means you've got something to sort of sit it into, a little niche that will sit it into. So again, alternate with the threading and then bring the wire back through the center, round to the back, and then to sort of finish off and secure it, just feed it underneath all the wires that came at the back, and just go round and round, and that will sort of like just spin it round the back. You don't have to make it bulky, but just make sure it feels fixed and secure. And then when you're done with that, you can sort of cut off the excess. I'm just getting rid of, that's the first, the end of the wire there. I think I might just spiral that away. You often find when you've got an end of wire, it's easier to put a little spiral in, because if you cut it off, you might have a spiky end. And by doing a spiral, you never have a spiky end. So I'm just using that as another bit to sort of secure it around. So that should now fix all my beads in place. And because the stars are flat, they do sit well on the surface, the front surface of this amazing carved shell flower. So that's going to be my centerpiece. And then I think I'll just suspend some of these shell flowers from it. So the way to use these, because they've only got one drilled hole, and if I want to suspend one to another, I need to make a link on each side. So I'm going to start off by making a wrapped loop. So again, put the wire on your round nose pliers, then wrap the excess wire just underneath the circular link. Cut off the excess, so I've got a little bit too much. You don't want to make it too bulky, but cut off the excess, flatten that down. So that's your starting point. And thread that from the back, the link, the hole from the back, the drilled hole, and then just push that upright so that it's level with the top of the little flower. I'm going to put a little star on this to bring, unify the whole piece. So I'm just going to put one star that hopefully will sit at the center. This wire I'm using is actually 0.8 millimeter, so 20 gauge. You can use your 0.4 as you used before, but I felt I wanted something a little bit tougher for this. It's a bit stronger. So now do another wrapped link, the opposite end. So you will have measured that to see where the wire comes, then push it back down so that it should sit right at the opposite side of the first link, and it sort of wedges its way there because it's got those petal shapes. Bring it round up the back and back around the top link, and that means it's fixed in place. And you can just leave a little tail so that you can hide that binding at the top. Leave a little tail, make a tight little spiral, and that tight little spiral hides all the workings underneath. So you just curl that in up to the stem, the wrapped stem, flatten it, and you see it covers it and adds another little bit of decoration. And just make sure that's the wires are opposite each other. I'm going to hammer just the end of the links, because what that does, because they're going to suspend off each other, what that does, it just gives the whole thing a bit more stability. You want these things to last, and work hardens it basically, but it's not absolutely necessary. Now, to keep that star at the center, I'm just giving a little kink in the wire on each side of the star, and that means the star, it sort of tightens all the wire, and I'm doing it at the back too, because it tightens all the wires around that go around, and it means that the star can't slip down because it's got a little kink there. It holds it much more in place, and you see I've done the other two already, so I'm ready to sort of put all my bits together. So what I'm going to do is actually hang one from the top, and then two cascading down, and this beautiful flower agate teardrop bead, it sort of blends so well and it gives it a finishing touch. I'm going to thread that's got a top drilled hole, so just bring your two wires together at the top, cross them over at the point of the bead, straighten out the longer stem, so that's going to be the main stem where the suspension link will go, and wrap this shorter wire around right close up to the top of the bead so that it can be secured at the top. So you don't need to do loads and loads of wraps, just do a couple, but just make sure it's hugging that top of that bead nice and close, and just make sure the ends are nicely finished. And I think it deserves another little star bead. And I mean, what's good about having these little star beads, it brings everything together, it unifies all your units and makes a complete piece and makes it, makes the whole piece look as if it's meant to be. It's got this continuous look, unified look. So little star bead at the top, and then we need another link. So do a wrap link, because this one's got a bit more weight. You've got the weight of the stone, the gemstone. So a wrap link is much stronger there. And we just need some jump rings after that, don't we, to link everything together. So this type of sun catcher is going to catch the sun because of the opalescent sheen on the shell. And it will be lovely hanging in a window, but equally you could also just hang it on a wall. So now I've got all my units together. I'm going to link them by using jump rings. And now I do have a jump ring tutorial, but you just create a sort of a coil like this, cut through. So use your cutters to cut a straight line through the coil from the last end through to the next one, and you'll get these little jump rings, these little links that you can use to connect everything together. Now the only thing is that center. See, I feel it needs something. We could use one of these rose quartz hearts, but that will just finish it off. The other thing I thought is to make a coil of 0.8 and push that through the gap, and we could finish it off like that and then bend that round the back and connect it. So that's two options that you could do. I'm going to use because I feel it's all gemstones, and so I'm going to use the rose quartz. So the rose quartz is actually drilled all the way through from top to bottom. It's a bead. So this is 0.4 mil wire again. You could use 0.6. Bring the wires at the center of the heart at the back and twist to create a twisted stem. So just twist and twist and twist, so you've got a nice straight stem, and just make sure it's tight to the back of the bead. It's going to end up sort of like a button. I mean, that's another thing you could put at the center of your dream catcher if you had a nice button. You could wire that to the front, because that's nice and flat and will sit well. So there we go. We've got your stem coming at right angles from the back of the heart, and you've still got a little hole left just to poke that through, and then to make sure that stays in place and it's not going to drop forward, you need to secure it. So you've got those wires. So again, just like you finished off before, push them underneath. So if you can find a gap, you can sort of just lift it either with your pliers or a fingernail, because I haven't sort of tightened it yet, and bring that around underneath so it sort of grips and secures it, and go round that little sort of coil you made there, and that should hold it in place. So that's just a little finishing touch for the back. Make sure the ends are pushed away, and now you can tighten everything. So again, just a little tweaks going around any wires. This holds everything in place. It work hardens it and it tightens it. And then just go around making sure that everything is sort of in position. The heart is the right way round to the way you're going to hang it. No, mine has to be turned. There we go. And yeah, rearrange it as best you can how you want it to hang. This bit slipped a bit, so I just put it back in that little groove at the top. And look at that. That's the finished item. You've got all your components, and it really catches the light. So it's a different type of style, but I hope you like it, and I hope you find a way of making your own versions. Thank you so much for watching.